Hello friends and my dear student, myself Komal Walde from RBNB College, Shrirampur district, Ahmednagar. Students, today we are going to discuss about the topic from chapter Human Nutrition from standard 11th Biology. In previous video, we discussed about the digestive system of human, in which we studied about the digestion in buccal cavity, digestion in stomach, digestion in small intestine. Okay, now today we are going to discuss about the action of that pancreatic juice, action of intestinal juice, as well as we discussed about the absorption, assimilation and digestion. So first we discussed about the action of pancreatic juice. So students, the pancreatic amylase acts on a glycogen and starch convert into those to the disaccharides. The lipase hydrolase fat molecules into the fatty acid and monoglycerides. Inactive trypsinogen present in the pancreatic juice, it is converted into simple form or it is converted into active from the trypsin. This conversion is brought about by interkinase present in the intestinal juice. In the intestinal juice, there is the presence of enzyme, and that enzyme takes place this conversion of the trypsin. Trypsin convert into the protein as well as pentose. Again, the chymotrypsinogen is converted into the active chymotrypsin, and this chymotrypsin is converted into polypeptides, and these polypeptides to the dipeptides. Now the remaining nucleic acid or nuclease enzyme which is present in the pancreas, this nuclease enzyme in the pancreatic juice helps in the digestion of nucleic acid. This digestion of nucleic acid into the pentose sugar and nitrogenous base. So in this reaction we clearly seen that the nucleic acid first converted into nucleotides, then nucleotides in the presence of enzyme nucleotide convert into the nucleoside and phosphate. These nucleoside lastly converted into the sugar and the nitrogenous base. It is converted into pentose sugar and the nitrogenous base. Now we discussed on the action of that intestinal juice. In the action of intestinal juice, the juice which is secreted from the intestine, there is the conversion of protein into amino acid. There is the conversion of protein into amino acid, fat into fatty acid, and the monoglycerides and carbohydrate is converted, monoglycerides and the nucleic acid is converted into sugar and nitrogenous base. There is the end of digestion of food. The carbohydrates into the monosaccharides, which is the mark of end of the digestion, and now this food is called as the chyle. The complete means 70% of the digestion is completed, and this is called as the chyle. Chyle is an alkaline slurry which contain the various nutrients. It contain the various nutrients, and these nutrients is ready for the absorption, and these nutrients are absorbed and undigested remain nutrients or remain undigested material are transferred into the large intestine. Remember that the mucosa of the large intestine produce mucus, but there is the no enzyme. Means large intestine secretes or produce only mucus but no enzyme or no digestive enzyme. Some carbohydrates and proteins enter the large intestine. These are digested by the action of bacteria that live in the large intestine. The carbohydrates are fermented by the bacterial action, and hydrogen, carbon dioxide and the methane gas are produced in the colon of large intestine. The protein digestion in the large intestine ends up into the production of substance like the indole, scatol and the H2S. These are the reason for the order of that feces, as well as the bacteria synthesis. Bacteria synthesize the several vitamins like B vitamin and the vitamin K also. We know that the digestive enzyme and the juices, they are produced in the sequential manner at a proper time. These secretions are under the hormonal control. The secretion of that enzyme and juices are under the neurohormonal control, and that's why the smell, even though after the food trigger saliva secretion. 10th cranial nerve, it is the stimulate the secretion of gastric juice in the stomach. Even the hormone gastrin, it also brings about the same effect. Now students, we are moving on the next topic, that is the absorption. After the digestion, after the action of pancreatic juice, action of intestinal juice, the chyme is produced, and this is the alkaline slurry, and this is the ready for absorption. These chyme or the nutrients which is present in the chyle, it is ready for the next process, that is the absorption, assimilation and the digestion. So what is the meaning of absorption? The passage of end product of the digestion through the mucosal lining of the alimentary canal into the blood and lymph. It is called as the absorption. The passage of end product of the digestion through the mucosal lining of alimentary canal into blood and the lymph is called as the absorption. The process of the absorption takes place by the various ways, such as simple diffusion, osmosis, transport, facilitated transport, active transport. This is the process which is occurring in the absorption. Students, about 90% of the absorption takes place in the small intestine, and the remaining absorption takes place into mouth, stomach and the large intestine. The absorption of the part of glucose, amino acid and some electrolytes such as chloride ion are absorbed by the simple diffusion. It's depend on the concentration gradient. Some amino acid such as fructose are absorbed by the facilitated transport. In this method, the carrier ions like the Na plus ion bring about the absorption. Some ions are absorbed against the concentration gradient, and it requires the energy. This type of the absorption of minerals like the sodium is called as the active transport. Where the energy is utilized, that absorption is carried out by the process of active transport. Again, the water is absorbed along the concentration gradient. We know that the monoglyceride and fatty acid cannot be absorbed in the blood. These dissolve in the center of that spherical aggregates which is formed by the bile salt, and it is known as the micelles. The micelles enters into the intestinal villi, and there are the formation of chylomicrons, and these chylomicrons are small proteins which is coated fat globule, which is coated by the fat globule, and they are transported into the lymph vessel, and it is called as the lacteal. From there they are transported into the bloodstream. This is the process of absorption which is carried out after the digestion, and after the absorption there is the assimilation. So what is the meaning of assimilation? The absorbed food material finally reaches into the tissue. It reaches the tissue and becomes a part of protoplasm. It is called as the assimilation. The absorbed food, after the process of absorption, the food material finally reaches the tissue and become a part of protoplasm. That is called as the assimilation. Means simple, it is the assimilation. And lastly, after the assimilation, the process of digestive system, of process of the human digestion, there is the digestion. It is the last process of the human digestive system in which undigested waste material in the form of feces is removed from the body. We know that the undigested waste is converted into the feces in colon and reaches the rectum. Feces contain the water as well as inorganic salt sloughed of the mucosal cell, bacteria, undigested food, etc. The distension of rectum stimulates pressure sensitive receptor that initiate the neural reflex for egestion. It is the voluntary process. The egestion or the defecation is the voluntary process that takes place through the anal opening, which is guarded by the sphincter muscle, and this is the egestion or defecation is the last process of the human digestive system, and it is the carried out by the anal opening, and this process of the egestion is completed, or the process of the digestion is completed after the absorption, assimilation, and lastly in the egestion. In the next video we will discuss the nutritional disorder. So today we are discuss that the process of absorption, assimilation and egestion. Thank you.